Mirror by Sylvia Plath. So yet again, we are dealing with, in this poem, the theme of beauty and how it inevitably fades with time. But all of a sudden, we with the modernists. So we don't, and I mean, ironically, they're living a lot longer than the Elizabethans and the Carolinians. It's a much better time to be living, but their outlook is a lot more pessimistic because the poor buggers were born around the time of the First World War, in between, and they lived like Sylvia Plath, born just at the end of the war. She was born into the Great Depression, and when she was 7 or so, I think World War II broke out, and a very bleak, horrific world that the modernist poets were writing about. And they rejected all the old tradition and form that the Victorians so clung to, the greatness of British tradition. Look at what it's got us. Let's resurrect our old sonnets, etc., etc. And the modernists are going, yeah, and then what? Look what happened. First World, bloody awful, war to end all war. It was terrible. And then Great Depression. It was awful. And now, Second World War, no. So this poem deals not just with aging and beauty and the passage of time. It also talks about the nature of identity, how we see ourselves and how we identify. And it's quite different from Sylvia Plath's other works, because most of her poems are quite autobiographical and very personal. But in this, she has shifted the perspective and the speaker to not being the I speaker as herself, the poet, but an impartial, cold observer, clinical, but not without heart, as it tells us. Okay. And so she's not talking about personal experiences, which all her other works actually spoke about. She speaks about an external identity and what happens to our self-image when we perceive, or what happens to our internal self-image when we perceive our external image. The modernists all spoke about multiple identities, fragmented identities. It was a time of enormous uncertainty throughout those decades, enormous uncertainty and upheaval, societal shifts, and people were desperately trying to find out like who they were and what humans were and what on earth is going on. And there was Great Depression as well as the Great Depression before people fully understood and accepted depression for what it is. And Sylvia Plath herself being somebody who suffered from that until she eventually stuck her head in the oven and gassed herself to sleep while her 2 young children were asleep. She did. She taped up the kitchen door, put her head in the oven, sent a message to the neighbor, and the neighbors passed out because it went straight up through the floor, but thankfully the children didn't die. So yes, she was struggling with enormous depression her whole life. Okay, so let's look at this poem. Firstly, mirror. Mirror can be, it's one of those gerunds. What's a gerund?
So when it can be used as a noun and a verb?
Yeah, that's a word that can be used as a noun and a verb. And you must look out for the gerunds in your modernist poems because they will use them deliberately in the poem. As if you end the sentence here, then it's a noun. But if you continue the sentence over, it can also be a verb. So they do play with that, okay? So mirror can be the actual thing that reflects you hanging on the wall there. And also to mirror something means to reflect. It can also be the action of mirroring or reflecting something. Okay, structurally, what do we see?
The stanzas have the same number of lines.
One could even say that they mirror each other, don't they? The stanzas, the one's looking at the other, right? Okay. It's written from the point of view of a monologue spoken by the mirror. Clearly, clinically, unbiased representation. I am silver and exact. I have no preconceptions. Whatever I see, I swallow immediately, just as it is, unmisted by love or dislike. I'm not cruel, only truthful. The eye of a little god, four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall. It is pink, with speckles, I've looked at it so long, I think it is part of my heart, but it flickers. Faces in darkness separate us over and over. Now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. She rewards me with tears and an agitation of hands. I'm important to her. She comes and goes. Each morning it is her face that replaces the darkness. In me, she has drowned a young girl, and in me, an old woman rises towards her day after day, like a terrible fish. All right. So we start off with the mirror, just stating what it is, right? And the mirror seems to go to great pains to show that it simply reflects. And we get a sense of the writer going, I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to find meaning and identity by looking at myself in the mirror, but the mirror is just simply showing me what it sees. No preconceptions. And this, whatever I see, I swallow immediately. That swallow, that verb, is quite an ominous verb. It doesn't say I reflect it back. It seems I followed up. It's like you look into the mirror and then it's gone. Second later, that's gone as well. And I think that's a bit of foreshadowing about the more ominous tone that happens in the second stanza with a hideous and horrific simile at the end, like a terrible fish. Whatever I see just as it is, that just emphasizing that I'm not imbuing it with anything, unmisted by love or dislike. Of course, a mirror can get misted up, right? But not in the way humans get misted up by their emotions, tears or anger. The fact that the mirror says, I am not cruel, only truthful, suggests that the writer doesn't really like what she's seeing in the mirror. I mean, we've all had that experience of like, oh goodness. Imagine if she had digital photography and the selfie camera that just goes through the one lens. Oh my God, she would have shoved her head in the oven long before she was 33. All right. So yeah, I mean, it's only truthful. The eye of a little God, four-cornered. Who do you think or what do you think the little God is? The mirror is not the little God. What does she mean by that? She's saying the mirror is, the metaphor is the eye of a little God.
So a god is like powerful.
Yes.
So
And what do people do to gods?
worship them and show like acts of service. Okay. So then it being an eye showing its only part, but the fact that the eye is like seeing, it's like powerful.
It has power, and people come up time and time again. People also go to gods to look for meaning and purpose, salvation, redemption, wishes come true, etc. Okay, four-cornered. Most of the time I meditate on the opposite wall, and meditate is also an important verb, because to meditate means to clear your mind completely and simply stay in the present, in the here and now. It is pink with speckles. And notice that she's showing that sort of modern sensitivity about kind of like, right, this is how meditation happens. You look at it without any emotional charge. You simply observe. It is pink with speckles. It's not going, oh, it's my favorite shade of pink with pretty little speckles. No, just impartial. I've looked at it so long, I think it is part of my heart. And this seems to be somewhat contradictory but what the writer is showing here is that although the mirror is silver and exact, it's not without a heart, but it is simply able to be impartial, but it flickers. Unfortunately, faces in darkness separate us over and over. So whenever somebody comes to look in the mirror, boops, can't see the wall anymore. There it goes. And then when darkness comes, obviously, can't see the reflection. It's nighttime. And then we shift to modernist style, just take a whole new tack and a metaphor. And she brings in this ancient architect type of a woman bending over a lake, looking at her reflection. All right.
Sorry, Bev, I just want to like ask, it's going a little bit back to the heart thing. What is the point of it having a heart though?
Okay, you answer that.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so I know you said that it's showing that it still chooses to be impartial. So the fact that a mirror can get like fogged up and stuff, would that be like showing how it can be affected by things, but it still chooses to reflect?
No, the people's breath would be fogging it up. I think it is showing that this is it continues with the personification of the mirror.
Okay.
It makes the mirror a living entity.
Okay.
And it loves the opposite wall.
Is that it?
Yeah.
So it's just only to personify the mirror and not
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. It was a good question. Okay, so we have this archetypal thing of a lake that has all sorts of depths. It has a reflective surface, yes, if you're looking into it, but that also holds hidden depths in a lake. And a woman embeds over me, and I can't help but also think of the Narcissus myth, where Echo and Narcissus in ancient Greece were lovers, and until Narcissus caught sight of his own reflection in a lake or in a river and fell immediately in love with his reflection so much that he couldn't root himself from the spot, and he was transformed into the Narcissus lily, which hangs over and gazes at its reflection in the lake. And Echo had to wander the rest of her life shouting out his name and getting nothing back in return. Okay. So there's this fixation, this narcissistic fixation with our own image as people, as women. She was born into a time where, look at the 1950s and the advertising and the expectations of women then. Sorry, I know you ran the countries and built tanks and filled ammunition and were spies and ran all the factories, but the men have come from the war now. Go back into the kitchen, make yourself beautiful, raise the kids, keep them quiet when we're home, and be available for sex. And if you're no longer beautiful and attractive, well, then go figure, your husband is going to stray. It's your own fault. So this is the world that she's in and writing in. So there is a preoccupation with appearance for women, their viability. And when you look back at the Go Lovely Rose poem, which was 350 years earlier, not that much progress in attitude. Nonetheless, she bends over, searches my reaches for what she really is. She's looking into the lake, the mirror, looking into the depth of what am I? Not who she is, but what. Then she turns to those liars, the candles or the moon. Now, the candles on the moon are associated with the symbols of romance. Their lighting is also very flattering. And so they're going to lie. Everyone looks better by candlelight and by moonlight, but they're lying because that's not actually what you look like or what you are. I see her back and reflect it faithfully. So she turns away. I'm reflecting her back, reflected faithfully. It also can mean she sees me and I see her back. And she rewards me. So it's like I reflected faithfully. I'm doing my job. I'm faithful. I do what I always do. And she rewards me, not by saying, thank you, mirror. She says, tears and an agitation of hands. So she is not happy with what she sees in the mirror, in the lake. She's not getting the answers. She's not seeing. She's not liking what she's seeing, and she's not finding out what she is. And then the mirror simply states, I'm important to her as a fact. And the mirror knows it's important to her because she comes and goes. Okay, she often glances in the mirror. Each morning, it's her face that replaces the darkness. So we know that every morning, the first thing she does, look in the mirror. And this mirror has been around for a very long time in her life, because in me, she has drowned a young girl, extending the metaphor as the mirror as lake. A young girl the reflection has gone and been swallowed up in that mirror and is drowned. And now it starts to feel menacing. And in me, an old woman rises towards her day after day. She isn't old yet. Well, she never got to be old because she killed herself at 33. But a woman is rising towards her day after day like a terrible fish. So she's seeing her future. And for her, it feels terrible. Okay. Questions. Okay. Why is the mirror being called cruel? It's implied that it's being called cruel because it says I'm not cruel. What do you think the terrible fish symbolizes? And what is the poetic device used here? Those are simple questions, those. And then to compare mirror to Go Lovely Rose. To what extent do you think the poets would agree with each other about the effect of time on women's beauty? Support your answer with specific references to each poem. Give those questions a bash. And if you'd like to see some model answers, go to our website. It's on the resource page. The direct link is in the comments below. Please click subscribe. It's free. And for more content in this section, click on the playlist.